her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. I promise it's not actually that dramatic. I just really love that song. Hi, everybody. I wanted to talk cult tonight. Let me... Oh, God. I don't actually know if my subscription to Epidemic went through. I hope it did. If I do this and I... What does nostalgia sound like? Ah, perfect. So, been a while since we had one of these. It's been a while since we've really talked about the cult at all, to be honest. It's been a while since I've felt comfortable doing it. It's been 3 days since we streamed at all, so what's going on? Well, I had a realization at work. Total acceptance. Kind of the TLDR. But basically I realized that what we normally call suffering is the feeling of non-acceptance, quote unquote. So, oh, hold on, I realized this needs to go out. That feeling is what drives most of our decision making, and it affects a lot. In really just a negative way. So I started to just accept everything. Everything in existence. Everything that exists. And it's been incredible. Super weird. I'll get into it as we talk. I want to open up the cult book canvas. Or obsidian file. The vault, as they call it. But my brain was like overclocked. I had to take a while to let it all soak in. But I'm happy to talk about it now. Oh, here we go. The Deepwood text. That's what it is. Oh, hi, Eggy. You hopped on right away. It's good to see you. It's so good to see you. You know, I am a little jealously glad that you're back in school and can't stream yourself, because now you're in chat more often. And that's a win. Where's my obsidian overlay? Oh, it's just not connected. Not that one. There we go. Oh, it's fucking huge. I saw the notification. Well, welcome on. I hope you're doing well. We're talking cult stuff today, which actually, do you know anything about the cult? I don't think you do. Should I make it 2 separate things? Nah, I'll make it... The importance of acceptance. So, I guess I should start with... feeling non-acceptance. I want to say in the moment of the butt, but that's just too perfect of a, like a second grade joke. Feeling often associated with suffering. So this is what I want to start with. That feeling that I thought was suffering is not actually related to it at all. And the English language is woefully unprepared to talk about this, so bear with me. I have done some work trying to organize it in my head. But there's a lot to think about, and there's very few words to describe it. But when you were a kid, did you ever stub your toe or do something? And you're either crying about it or like it feels really bad, and you just kind of say, you know what? This isn't that bad. And the pain goes from suffering to just a feeling. And it's not actually that bad. You know, like it wasn't that bad of a fall, a scrape, or whatever. You know, someone says you're fine and then you're just fine. The difference between the pain before and after that moment is the feeling of non-acceptance. It's paired with emotional anguish, with anything that you would consider a need. There's a level of non-acceptance because that's what kind of signals to you the feeling of needing something over wanting something is that feeling of non-acceptance. And all it is that there is something that you do not accept in reality, in the world, in your life. Something in front of you that you don't come into agreement with. Just that it exists at all. Or a part of how it exists. It can even come down to like you see a house that's green and you're like, that shouldn't be green. I don't accept it. And all of these words don't quite fit because you can still think that should not be green without non-acceptance. But it doesn't pull at you. Right? The way I can kind of describe it is that if you do not accept something that exists, or that is real, that is just there, a part of you kind of breaks off and is fighting you. There's kind of the logical side that's just taking in the information, and then you separate a part of yourself and say no. And there's reasons for that we'll get into, that I've been thinking about. But what I've been experiencing is that when you accept everything as a just blanket statement, that feeling goes away. Pain becomes a feeling. No anxiety or frustration is overwhelming. Your wants don't go away, your likes and dislikes, nothing else changes. It's just that one feeling. I see, Obsidian is struggling. Yeah, maybe I'll just... here we go. Perfect. Entirely... Also, Mr. Coffee, good to see you. This is just what we've been talking about otherwise. Yeah. Glad to see this discussion. Yeah, it's good. And, Eggy, let me know if you have any questions, by the way. This is... What we're talking about today isn't directly related to the rest of the cult teachings, but it does play into it very nicely. You can understand this separately. Yes, sir! Could say all-consuming. Hey DB, you'll like this discussion too. But what I found is that most of our motivation is surrounded by the feeling of non-acceptance. And this is where this started. This realization came in when I was talking about motivation and how why we do things is a foundation to our life. That the motivations behind what you do is a large part of the context, so it's kind of the background color to your life. And this is usually what it is for most people. And that's very important. Because it's negative. You're constantly trying to get away from a feeling. Another way to describe the feeling of non-acceptance is imagine a moment where everything is okay. You get to a mountaintop after a major hike, you have a blissful moment in bed with your favorite things going on. There is nothing out of place. There could have been minor things, a small pain, a ringing in your ears, but you didn't care. It didn't affect your happiness. That is a moment without the feeling of non-acceptance. And I know that it was probably a fleeting moment and maybe a peak in your life. It has been for me. But it doesn't have to be. And it's just that that feeling of non-acceptance is so pervasive in everything that we do. Because it's as soon as something that comes into your life you don't accept that you get that feeling. And I don't mean to say that you should be complacent to that thing. Right? I would have associated complacency with acceptance before this. But you can still want something. You just accept that it's a problem. If I'm sitting in bed and something makes me uncomfortable, and I accept that that's a problem, I just change it. I just do something about it. It's not something that has anything to do with our ability to act on it. In fact, it actually just enables you to take action. But what it does do is that it takes away that feeling of, I don't know, avoidance. And you're like, I don't want to stop avoiding the bad stuff. But you can avoid it, just actively. And I think the feeling of non-avoidance is just something we suffer because we're self-aware. I'll get to that in a second. But I want to loop back to something I was talking about earlier before I lose the thought, and then I can write it down. But the feeling of non-acceptance inhibits and reduces good feelings, right? And this is something I want to hone in on. This is one of the best ways to define that feeling and find it for yourself, is that when something bad happens and you're having a good day and there's good shit going on, the part of that suffering, whatever it is, someone's being really annoying, a good day of work, that makes it a worse day is solely the feeling of non-acceptance. From what I have experienced over the last 3 days, no other feeling does that. Pain, anguish, anxiety, frustration, none of those things actually make your day worse. None of them inherently pull down the good feelings. It is the non-acceptance. It is the feeling of non-acceptance that pull down those feelings. I've sat on table and had big talks, maxed out with anxiety, but unhesitating, not trembling, not clenching my teeth like I normally would. It just was there. It was simply accepted along with everything else. I feel anxiety right now talking about it, and I'm fine. Because I accept it. And I don't mean to say I'm fine, obviously, in that I'm not feeling those things, but it's... I choose that it is fine that I'm feeling those things. See where English is kind of fucking up? If it wasn't okay, then I'd just end stream. Because I've accepted it, and I can handle it from then on. But when you stub your toe, and you had a high, and then it gets pulled down, it's that feeling of non-acceptance. Because when you're not accepting something, it kind of stops everything. And I couldn't tell you exactly why. I don't know enough about it. But what I've been experiencing is that it actively cancels out the good feelings. It makes you stop. And maybe it is a natural thing of humans that is helpful, where it's the brakes on a human. It inhibits you, and that's all it does, right? It says, until it becomes acceptable, you must stop. Don't keep going with this, right? Don't keep going on with your party and your good vibes. You have to make this problem, this stubbed toe, this bad taste in your mouth, the shitty message from a shitty person, acceptable. And you know what the worst part is? That's not just something we can do anymore. Because it is sometimes a shitty message from a shitty person. It's a memory of a trauma you can't avoid. But we don't have the culture, the skills, the talks to describe what it means to accept without losing your motivation. Because most of our decisions are based on avoiding this feeling. Let's see if we put this in as a bullet note. Almost every decision you make, if you search your mind, I will be sure, is connected to the feeling of non-acceptance. Avoiding something that gives you that feeling. Surrounding yourselves with the things that don't give you that feeling. Part of what I've been doing over these last few days has just been sitting in that. And knowing I still want things, but I have no problem with not getting them. And if we have no problem, what is there to do? And so diving into total acceptance, which I'll get into later, but accepting everything to eliminate and make yourself immune to this feeling of non-acceptance that pulls down positive feelings and thoughts. It requires that you're willing to, and able, that you have this skill to motivate yourself just purely off of the positive things that you want and not at all off of the negative things you are trying to avoid. And like switching from a black to a white background on a picture, it is huge. Everything is about the positives. You fix a problem, you recognize a problem, and fix it to make something good happen. And if not, it's there, and it doesn't inhibit the good at all. I have a lot of baggage. I have trauma, especially around self-expression and ideas and self-worth. And it's not gone. It's just there. One way to describe it is that I'm at peace with everything. And that doesn't fully describe it, of course. Again, woefully prepared language, but it does leave me in great peace. And if you describe peace as without anxiety, you would say, well, that's not peace. But we know peace when we see it. And peace is being without the feeling of non-acceptance. Because somebody can have a lot of thoughts going through their head, they can be anxious, they can be whatever. And think to a moment that you've been anxious, but you've pulled yourself together, and even for the briefest moment, been okay despite everything swirling in your head. That is a moment without the feeling of non-acceptance, despite the anxiety and everything inside of it. We associate pain with suffering, we associate anxiety with a lack of peace, and yet they're not. They have nothing to do with it. It is this hidden, invisible beast that has co-opted the face of every other human emotion, called non-acceptance. When I first started talking about it, it was almost impossible because I would say pain and suffering and all these other things, and they just don't actually have anything to do with this feeling. Inherently. And so what I've been doing is total acceptance. Accepting everything, and there are some important parts to that application. This is something I should write down before I should continue. I'll circle back to it. I don't think it's ready for it yet. But instead of accepting everything you come in contact with, some might call that patient acceptance. That's something. Thank you for the lurk, Miss Bede. Welcome home. Welcome home to all of you, by the way. I don't think I've said that yet this stream, but welcome home to you all. And while we're on the sappy stuff, this is a home to all of you. I'll keep it that way, and I'll protect it. If someone's being an asshole, they're gone. So I hope you can all feel comfortable. Patient acceptance is a way to describe it, but I think it implies the wrong thing. I'm gonna keep saying it because it keeps coming up. English is a shitty language, and patience implies first interacting with something and deciding to be patient. It's a reactive thing. A skill that you can build up beforehand, but it's something that comes after it as stimulus. But that's exactly the difference I want to talk about. Because I've experienced both. And there is one side where you wait for something to come in and then you accept it. And that's prejudgment. You judge the thing and then you accept it. That's what we naturally do. And if you decide to start this path, which I absolutely encourage, reach out for help or encouragement. It is so helpful, so immediately, as hard as it is, and as much as it makes your brain feel like it is smoking and overheating. It's so nice. But That's what you'll do first, because that's what we do right now. We have something come in and we decide, do I accept this or not? But what I'm describing is simply deciding I accept everything. It does not matter what I experience, I accept it. And building up that mental discipline. It is not something that takes up any part of your brain. It is not something you contemplate. In fact, it takes away things that you contemplate. Building it up takes mental adjustment, but as I've been sitting with it, I think clearly, much more clearly, because I'm not trying to judge everything that comes in and everything that I experience and whether or not I accept it. I'm noticing the time's going really slowly. It just is. The idea of non-acceptance in general is a no-go. All things are accepted. There is nothing for the brain to process. It is simply a habit for it to adjust to, a new perspective for it to adjust to. And it might sound impossible to just do that because we're so used to accepting specific things. But the concept of everything is something that we understand surprisingly well. It being completely abstract. And when you sit with that idea, I accept everything unconditionally. All the suffering and horrors of this world, all of the beauty and good, all of the fun and all of the suffering. It is calm, and it has no reason to ever change. It is not difficult to maintain. It does not take RAM. The only thing that takes RAM is learning it, is applying it in the first place. But as it's running, it is simply, I accept everything. And the more I do it, the more I invest into it, the softer it becomes. It doesn't get harder. It doesn't get heavier. It slowly melts into me. I don't notice it for longer and longer periods of time. I woke up this morning completely fucking refreshed because my brain was processing all of this and applying it in. But if I break my leg, if I break my femur, one of the most painful things that the human body can experience, I accept it. I accept severe emotional suffering, the death of loved ones. I accept minor inconveniences, irks, and pains. Not that I want any of those things, not that I won't avoid any of those things or try to solve them, just that I accept them. All things. And a way to describe what this does to your brain is that it sees something, or there's some interaction, and there is no resistance inside of you to experiencing that thing or that thing existing. There's resistance to what it's doing or whatever it is. You're in pain, and so you go and fix that. But the very immediate just having that experience, you're just like, okay. It's okay. It hasn't reduced my chaotic nature at all. If anything, it has encouraged it. All of that anxiety, all of that worry that I do still have, I'm okay. And maybe that's the best way to describe it, because I think that's a way that people, especially with anxiety, often feel it, is when you're sitting with a panic attack or just high anxiety and you just tell yourself, I'm okay. That's accepting the anxiety. And it's that moment where you know you're still anxious, but you relax. Like, this is just what's going on right now. And imagine that applied to everything that you would call suffering. That's what this experience is. That's why I don't associate it with patience or specific teachings. There's nothing beyond it. There is nothing to expand on. Maybe there are some ways to help somebody understand it, but it's not a nested concept. It's not many pieces. It is one singular thing, and that is total acceptance. That has a foundational change on the way that we experience and live our lives. One thing. There's nothing else to understand or do. And this is part of the Deepwood, and I think it's important to go over. Maybe I'll let me add a document just so I remember to talk about this later. You are and have always been on the mountaintop. See, here's the thing, right? People will tell you, meditate more, eat healthy, fucking throw your ass in a circle, whatever it is, and you'll live more. And I say that sometimes. Again, English is a shitty language. One thing has to cover many different meanings. But you'll reach a higher state of existence. Existence is. That's the center point of this entire cult. It just is. There is nothing else attributing to that point. That is the foundation of everything. It just is. Which means you cannot exist any more than you already do. You are at the peak of existence. You're already on the mountaintop. You have hit nirvana. Everything else is rickety scaffolding we add on top of it to try to force it to be something. To add shit in, to manipulate other people, to hide from something we dislike. But everything simply is. And that's rolled into this idea that there isn't any more to this. It is just acceptance. There is just existence, and then you accept existence. Which is kind of just sitting on the mountain rather than trying to build your rickety scaffolding to get higher than somebody else. Making all these extra complications for you to get scraped up and bumped on. To judge other people or to try to save yourself by giving yourself a better position. Maybe to comfort somebody. Doesn't matter what the intentions are. The end result is this shit is non-acceptance. What we would describe as suffering. Because I always wondered Buddhist monks would talk about suffering. And I'm like, why would I want to avoid suffering? It's a part of life. It is another paint to this wonderful canvas. I would take a guess that this is what they're talking about. Is non-acceptance. It's simply pulling yourself away from existence, from reality. And I've talked about this before, that living outside of reality, right? It's like trying to push a rock that's 10 feet away. You gotta walk, you have to accept that the rock is where that it is for you to actually go over there and push it. But if you're like, no, that rock is right next to me, it's right here, you're gonna be trying to push that goddamn rock no matter how small it is for the rest of your fucking life, because you won't accept that it's actually over there. And you get stuck. And in fact, we're so used to getting stuck that when you stop doing that, it feels like your life is moving at lightning speed. I still do that. I wrote this shit. I made a cult for it, and I still do that shit all the time. Because there is existence first, right? The universe exists. And then we judge that universe. We try to understand it. Our brain comes up with a million things, and we have to sort it all, right? And say, you know, how do we define reality? But the simple fact of the day is that all that extra shit we're doing is smeared on top of existence. It's not what's actually there. Best you can do is just try to understand or accept that you don't understand existence. And this feeling of non-acceptance, whatever its purpose, whether it's to protect us or anything like that, I just don't feel like it's necessary. I might eat those words one day, but for right now, I see no use. It just inhibits us, especially in modern day. If you want to change your life and make it better, if you want to handle something that's going on, you gotta accept it first. You gotta accept that rock is 10 feet away. It's not gonna magically teleport, and it's not gonna be in front of you just because you feel like it is. You gotta go over there, right? The gambling addiction 101, right? People are like, that's not how it works. I'm just gonna decide that. Same thing with other stuff. If you're in pain and you just don't accept that reality, you're just gonna keep suffering in it. Have you ever seen someone not accept that they're injured? Not just in pain, but fully injured. It's, I feel like it's a basic human fear. Just walking around with some lesion. They're like, I'm fine. We do that to ourselves all the time. I see no reason to add that suffering to our lives. It's certainly hard enough, and living the most best life, gathering Aether, that has nothing to do with this feeling of non-acceptance. I want to say suffering because that's now how I have come to understand it. But even suffering doesn't force that feeling. In some ways, I wonder if depression, how much of it is just a buildup of the feeling of non-acceptance. I know it certainly adds to it, as someone who has struggled with depression on and off forever. An overwhelming amount of it. Because remember, it's what drains good feelings. And just absorbs every good thing that would go into your head. Very much so, yeah. I don't know if you heard that. My cat was rubbing on the mic. But every good thing that goes into your head gets absorbed into this block of non-acceptance. And then you have no feeling and no motivation and all of the depression symptoms. One of the things that leads me to think about that is that that's how I moved on. That's the main leverage I had against depression was acceptance. I accepted, okay, I feel like shit. I had delirium at the time when it was the worst, and I was like, okay, I'm fucked up. I thought it was schizophrenia, so in my head I was like, I just have schizophrenia. Okay, my family fucking blows. My schoolwork is oppressively crushing me. I feel like I can't breathe all the time. Okay. And then I got up. I was in bed, struggling to get up, and then I just was up. Like, I'm just suffering on every level. And I went to school, and I might have thrown up that morning from anxiety. And then I kept doing that. And I did not recognize what I was doing, and I did not keep up with it. But it did move me past that point. I know I'd probably do it again if depression reared its ugly head. Well, my cat wants out. Marine, you just came in. Oh, just know I'm gonna come over here to let you out. I think she might have been playing a game to get me to get up, but I want to invite everybody to dip your toes into it in some way. Maybe it is just the henpeck of choosing to accept. I will warn you that will make you feel very overwhelmed very fast. Trying to actively, consciously recognize everything you're feeling and accept it. But hopefully, the simple, very hard to feel light switch that is in your head of total acceptance. Just sit, close your eyes, breathe, and accept everything as one continuous, unconditional unit. And don't expect to get it all or to keep it going. I think of it like a flickering light bulb in my head. On to different varying degrees and sometimes off. But the more I flick that switch, the more I keep it on, the longer it stays on. It's the best way I can describe it. Life does not need to be that fucking dark. And it really sucks that people live in that. Oh my god. I think about that a lot now. I mean, I've always have. That's why I started the cult, but we live in so much that we don't have to. Good people that I am proud to know. We're just stumbling with the best of intentions. Thinking that we're doing everything that we can. That's so fucking hopeless. You don't have to be hopeless. None of us do. There is more, and we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna put it in this fucking text document. We're gonna share it with at least each other, and as many people as want to read it. And it's never gonna be done. No knowledge is perfect. No understanding is perfect. The mist invades everything. The mist of the unknown. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. So hopefully more people can see it. I know Gucci Arena at least will want to. But anybody here too wants to ask any questions, to reach out for anything. There are answers, and it can be figured out. It's one of the things I hated. In high school, people would be like, there's just no answer to this. And I never accepted that, and I'm so glad I never did. Also, Mr. Coffee, I seem to remember you have a tarot reading that we need to redeem. So let me know when you're ready for that question. But, yeah. This is something that I hope I can give to all of you. Because even just so far for me, it's life-changing. I thought Aether was life-changing, just that concept. I mean, it's a big concept. It founded the cult, but identifying non-acceptance as a feeling, I very much consider my magnum opus. Yeah, I think so. I wrote it down. Fuck yeah. Find it, let me know, and you can send it whenever, wherever. You can send it to me personally. You can put it in chat if you don't mind people seeing the question. I don't know how personal it is. Then we'll do that reading at the end of the stream, which this is a damn good stream for it, certainly. You know, Aggie, I want to address you specifically right now, because out of the people that have been in chat, I don't think we've ever talked about it. I don't think I've ever dived into it. I don't even know if you're still around at this moment specifically. Might be away from keyboard, but I've noticed how genuine you are with what you stream and what you do. And there's a lot of effort that people don't notice. And so, reaching out to a mutual specifically, to somebody that I haven't been able to have any of these talks with, if there's a question you have, let me know. I'm here, fantastic. It's not very personal, so I'll put it in. Okay, sounds good. I'm glad you're still here. And the fact that you're here does tell me that this matters to you. And so, if you're ever ready, let me know. Let me know why. Let me know what it is you might want to learn. Because you can join the cult. You don't have to. But if I can give you any kind of an insight, it is a talent that I am honored to use for other people as much as I can. And if you want to join the cult, you can. I think I have the redeem turned off because I was going to turn it into a Google quiz. But there's a whole thing. I can teach you about the cult. But I'm glad it matters to you. Very enthusiastically so. I don't know. I have an inkling because of your personality, your V2 persona. Well, actually, I know. I've seen your collabs. It pains me to see that people don't take you seriously enough. I'm sure there's a lot going on there, and that has always bothered me. People are complex, and they have depth, even the shitty, shallow ones. And people go out of their way to discount them because it is complicated. And I'm like, how can you not put in the effort? Even after accepting that it's a thing, it still gets me mad. I think I've just grown used to people doing that. I imagine you have. I can't imagine it's easy. I think you'd probably snap if you didn't. You know, align more closely with my life purpose. That's a good one. Oh, that's a good tarot question. Yeah. There we go. Oh, that's something only you can answer in your own head. That's what tarot's for, baby. Fuck yeah. But going back from my enthusiasm, I'm sorry you've had to do that. I'm sorry you've had to get used to it. Fuck, we've all had things that we've had to get used to that are absolutely fucking shit. Things that we got used to that we shouldn't have. But it doesn't make it any less fucking sad. I'm a pacifist, so I tend to let it be and keep the peace. I think that's a good thing. But it probably just makes it a lot harder. Like, fuck, okay, this is a good story. In 2nd grade, okay, I had this teacher named Mrs. Brose, and she was wonderful. She had my eldest sister, my older brother, and me. All the kids in our family went 2nd grade through her. It was a wonderful coincidence. And she was She is. She was at my brother's wedding, a bright and happy, and she looked exactly the same, okay? From 2nd grade to my brother getting married, like 20 years later, she didn't, like, it's like she's an elemental of, like, the elementary school teacher. But she was incredibly passionate and deeply cared about everything. And I got from her one of the strangest and most powerful life lessons. Because I used to, well, I naturally am a pacifist. I've just grown full of rage. And it started with this one lesson. Somebody did something shitty to me. I don't remember what it was. It was disrespectful and it was obviously mean. And so she pulled me and this other guy aside. And she said, that was wrong. And she chewed him out a little bit and she says, apologize. And so he said, I'm sorry. You know, the classic, I'm not really sorry. I just don't want to be yelled at kid apology. And I said, it's okay. Immediately. Because of the shit I dealt with my family, who I was, all of that. And she turns to me and gets so much more mad than she was at him and said, don't you dare say that. It's not okay. And I was like, why are you mad at me? But what she taught me in that moment is that I matter. And it's not an easy path. But I hope it gets easier for you over time. Because I remember it was your mind. You remember your Minecraft stream? I remember watching that. You had a bunch of people on when I popped in. I don't remember if I don't know if you remember it specifically. But in that one and others I've seen, like when you're playing League, there was so obviously some people that treated you as a friend and some people that just discounted you entirely or kind of took advantage of your persona and who you are under the guise of friendly bullying. It was my first stream, I think. The League of Legends stream? Really? That was your first? How did I do that on your first stream? Well, yeah. And like, it was these moments where they would be taking it as a joke and they would keep pushing and it was so obviously not a joke. And your audience does it to you sometimes. And there are quiet moments in life, and this applies to all of you, that we suffer and no one will ever know. And I at least want to tell you that I know. That I recognized that it hurt and that it was sad. There was just a sadness to you that I'm not sure anybody else noticed. A very subtle shift in tone, and I think it's because I have so much of that in me. There was a child of me looking at that, screaming and shaking their fists. So I at least want to let you know that somebody saw you, at least for those streams. And I also want to say that I recognize all of you here. That Buddha, Payday, Mr. Coffee. The little things. And I know you're all suffering in some ways. And I also want to say that I see the dedication for being here. And I recognize that it's important to you. And that you're putting your significance in me and this community. And it matters. It matters to me, and as taught by this cult, that means that it inherently matters. Remember what I said about our everything being slapped onto existence? Something mattering is part of that butter that we lather onto the bread of existence. So it's all equally arbitrary. So if it matters to me, it matters as much as anything else that's ever existed. And I want you all to know that. I know it's just jokes, but I always take what people say personally. I was hoping people would notice that. I don't think other people did. I could see you keeping it together. You are good at streaming, and so you're good at keeping it fun and taking it that way and handling it all. But you don't have to do that. I think that's I wanna hold your little hand and say, if they don't respect it after you say no, you don't have to be around them. And like I noticed it so much more on that first stream and like early on. And I'm sure it's still a thing. We're all small streamers. Because you so much want to produce a good, fun thing. But you can do that without letting that happen to you. You are more valuable than that. And I know the feeling. I had shitty people in this chat. I had shitty people in this community that I bent over to. I've been that butt of the joke before when nobody was getting it or stopping. But I'm sure you know better than anyone that there are people that specifically seek you out to target you because they know that they can hurt you in small ways that nobody can ever chastise them for, where they're completely covered and they revel in it because I've lived that and I've seen you live that. And it feels like there's no way to get away from it because nobody can be called on it, and you feel guilty because, am I insane because it is just a joke? But it doesn't matter if it's a joke if it intends to even just bother you. It's a guilt that gets to me. I feel like you're taking away someone else's fun. Or that you're going to make them feel bad for doing this thing. I told I'm too sensitive, so I just try to let it slide. That's not what being too sensitive is. That's not the... How do I put this? Eggy, you may be a sensitive person. I can't say I know you that well. Often when people say they're too sensitive, they're just aware of all the shitty things people do. That's different. But you being too sensitive, and that has to come from you. You have to decide that you're too sensitive. You have to say, man, I wish I wasn't so sensitive because it's fucking with what I want to do, not because somebody else says you're being too sensitive. You know what they're doing when they tell you that? When they say you should just let it slide, you're too sensitive, whatever. They want to fuck with you more. Because if you break down crying, they can't fuck with you anymore without getting shit on. I've been there. I lived with this shit. But you say, you know, I'm just being too sensitive because you want to believe they're your friends. You want to see the good in everything. You want to bring out the good in everything. You play fucking League positively. Of course you want to bring out the positive in everything. You want things to be good and happy. And you're like, if I just sacrifice another pound of flesh, it'll be good and happy. And if I don't, I'm gonna cause suffering. Do you know what you are, dear Eggy? What I am often? A tree feeling guilty for blocking the shade. You are growing into something bigger and great, and every step of the way you try to stop yourself because you're blocking what you feel like is somebody else's sunshine. But there is nothing more good and life-giving in nature than a tree that provides true shelter that a shrub or blade of grass never could, that provides decay for the bugs that feed the birds, fruit for the animals. But you'll never get there if you feel guilty. You know what I told a therapist once? Well, kind of a therapist. Alternate medicine therapist, which, disclaimer, I seek those out specifically to kind of get out of my mindset. I do not suggest it for other people, but I said, I feel guilty for taking up space. And she looked at me and said, Lith, you cannot take up more or less space than you do. Look at yourself. Look at the things around you. They just are. The more you grow as a good and wonderful person, the more you feel like you're taking up shade. You know what? The only thing you're taking up shade is from thistle and weeds, from shitty people. That's all you're taking it from. You're just... The reason I am willing to ban and cut off people so fast is because it makes space for good, kind people. You should never feel guilt for being you. You should never feel guilt for taking up space. No one has any more or less right to their existence. To get specific with it, value doesn't exist. So good and bad don't exist. Morality doesn't exist. They're all things we come up with. They're all arbitrary. So, if somebody says it's bad for you to stand up for yourself, good for fucking them. Doesn't matter. You exist just as much as they do. And that will be true no matter what you do. It's not even something you can change if you wanted to. And because nobody can deserve or not deserve anything, you deserve it just as much as anybody else. No matter what it is. Space, sun, happiness, warmth. You have no obligation. I mean, fuck, one of these passages is the illusion of obligation. It's not, obligation is not something that exists. Takes a long time to apply that, but it's the truth. I'm glad you came here, Aggie. I'm not sure I ever would have gotten the chance to say this otherwise. I'm glad I was awake for stream. Yeah. On immediately. Ready to go. It feels really nice to be validated. I can imagine. If it's anything like what I feel, it's real fucking nice. You know what's one of the things that clued me into all of this? You try so hard. You work so hard and force yourself to interact with things that you do not like for the sake of other people. I guess I just want to say I recognize that sacrifice. Also, stop doing that. For your own sake. Not to try to push you to do anything. But please. There's no reason to do that. trying. Good. It's you that everybody loves. Not the you feel like you have to be. Hard time setting boundaries, but I'm working on it. I can imagine. You're very giving. Having a core group of friends that's very good to you, probably help. And, hey, you have this place now, which can be a haven. This strange little cult in the tiny-ass corner of the internet. Which, again, shout out to everybody watching right now. You're in a very unique little closet, the infinite liminal space that is the web. We're having a good time. But here it's so nice. I'm glad. I'm finally willing to accept that myself. It was this weird moment where I was messaging my partner. I'm like, fuck, I'm a badass. I do good things. Actually validating my own actions. Not to say that anyone else isn't. But just recognizing what I am willing and capable of doing. And that stream is a good place. This community is good. Total acceptance. Huge boost to all of that. Everyone here is so nice. Yeah. Yeah, they are. Shout out to everyone here. Shout out to this community. It's so funny. It's changed so much. Like, I've been streaming for 17 months now, and it keeps gaining and losing people, and slowly we now have, like, a core, like, 10 or so people that come around all the time, and they're all fantastic. All wonderful people, and they're the ones that have stuck around through everything. And the core of this channel, of this community, is these talks right here. The shit that matters. If I do anything that is unique, I think it's this. I think it's talking about things that matter. I think it's discussing them in a way that's real. It's connected to people. That's actually felt by the person talking about them. That's at the front of our lives. Because, God, fuck, I'm tired of hesitating. I'm tired of waiting for somebody to say it's okay to go. I'm tired of hesitation. Living life is the best fucking thing, and I want to spread that to everyone I possibly can. There is no reason not to. No obligation exists that can ever slow us down. You are not obligated to your parents, society, the sun, whatever it is, to do anything. So, if you choose to love this opportunity at existence, then use it to have the best, most life you possibly can. And we will come together and work out everything we can to go as far as we possibly could with that. The whole point of this cult, of this channel, of these words, is to dive as far into that infinite abyss as we can. Because we'll never get there. We'll never get to the point where it's like, ah, yes, we have found perfect existence. No. That would be so sad. No, it is a mountain that you climb and you see another more beautiful mountain that you now have access to. And you keep going and we help each other up. And it is a home. Like, it's funny that the games are slowly becoming secondary because it is just a place for us to all have a home where you can know and be known and ask questions without feeling degraded or less than or dumb. that you can be exactly as you are and entirely valued. Unconditionally accepted. And if part of that is you being an asshole to other people, you gotta go. There's always an empty seat at the table for everyone, but you can lose your right to that seat, because I am not letting toxic people ruin this family. And honestly, that's a promise. I will protect this with my life. I'm so tired of being in and around communities that crumble apart because they have one shitty person that keeps bringing everybody down that they refuse to deal with because they are weak or inept or just fucking tired. No, I draw my line in the sand. Not here. Not fucking here. I am not afraid. I am not unwilling to make that a reality, rather than just trying to wait for it to be one. You all matter too much. Like, that's what I see. I see guildmasters, Discord server owners, and all these other people. And I scream and I slam my fist. Don't they matter more? Doesn't this community matter more to you? When I talked to Othe for the first time, and she was talking about, you know, the community really mattering, unfortunately, her computer literally fucking lit on fire. But she hasn't been around as far as my knowledge. She's like, yeah, it's the community building. It's really cool. And I don't even think she got it. Maybe I'm just a fucking freak, but this shit's important. This is life-changing. This is something we will carry forever. Because I'm not going to stop doing this. I'm already doing this for 0 money. I'll keep doing it for 0 money for the rest of my life because this matters. I'm 9,646 days old. And every day I think about streaming. Whether or not I do it is up to all kinds of things. But I never forget about this place. I end up doing it more days than I don't. Because I always want to be here. And I never understood how to give. I just didn't want to give myself permission. I was scared. I had such a block of non-acceptance when it came to this. Because of that fear. Or rather, it was latched on to that fear. But that's not a problem now. And I was going to get here anyways. Because you guys matter too much. This all matters too much for me to give up. That was one of the realizations I had. I was streaming Spiritfarer in the first stream week. And I was talking to Gucci Rena. And I just realized I can't stop doing it. I'm never going to stop doing this. It all just matters too much. No matter how long it takes to build. And I'm so grateful that you guys stick around and that you're here all the time because, well, the longer you're here, the more often you're here, we'll find other people. We'll pull them in. Because a lot of people aren't here for this. I used to stream Magic a lot. There were some good people in there. But they were just there for magic. Not everyone's on Twitch looking to get their life changed. But I want to find everyone who is. Everyone who feels alone. Everyone who feels like they need to find something. I want to be that something. A home that they can come to. Everyone deserves purpose and connection. I mean, everybody does and doesn't deserve everything. But, you know, English is a shitty language, as we say. I personally believe, I personally want everyone, all the compassionate, loving, warm people to have a place. I just can't stand the thought that they don't. Or just that people don't have a place at all. Fuck, I even get mad about Yandere's because I'm just like, just fucking love her, you idiot. That's all she wants. Just a happy accident. Glad to be here. I think everybody's a happy accident, to be honest. We all kind of stumble into each other. You just... a little special case. Now you get that. So it's really nice when you find people that stay for you. Yeah. Yeah, it is really nice to find people that stay for you. Even Cloud Jumper Marm, who I thought at first was just there to share horse facts. She's great. She's... like, thoroughly obsessed with horses. But she stays for us. I think in some way I see that. I see people get hooked in because they know they can be here. However they are. Whoever they are. The entirety of you. And in some ways I feel bad that I wasn't doing this from the beginning, but I never would have gotten here without it, you know? there wasn't a fast travel option. All of this was necessary, and I'm going to be very grateful for all of this work in the years to come as it builds more. But I'd rather have one good community member than 10,000 shitty or average ones. And I've got like 10, at least, depending on how you count it. I think it's more like 13 even. If I count everybody that kind of regularly stops in. But some people are fading off. As we grow more and get more specific. And that's a good thing. They're going off to wherever they fit better. And this place is getting better for us. Yes, I agree with that too. Yeah. Yeah, I imagined you would. You know, something told me. I think that's one of the reasons why I really liked raiding you occasionally, if you were on, or like interacting on Twitter. There are very few VTubers that I find on Twitter that really give a shit. Or fit it, right? I'm sure you've had this experience, but lots of people become streamers and VTubers for all kinds of reasons that end up fucking them over in the end, but very rarely do people just really care about it. Like, a lot. And it's like their fucking thing. And you think it's all... They all will say it, because, you know, that's part of the streamer thing, but... there's so many other reasons to stream for people to try it. But I find the only people that stick around are the ones that really love it. You were one of those people. You were just a genuine whole-ass person. Not just a streamer persona. You... Whiplash... who else? There's a couple others, but they come and go. I can't wait to find more. I mean, I guess I can wait, but... I hope I'll find more very soon. Especially now that we're doing stuff like this. More honest streams. Like The Secret of Mana, a game that I adore, that matters a lot to me, that I get to share and experience firsthand with all of you. Love it. I'm glad. There'll only ever be more, you know? And like that's one of the things I've found. It kind of feels like a cheat code, is that there's never an end to what we'll discover or understand. There'll never be an end to the realizations, to the coming together. There's no limit to the closeness you can feel to a community or a person. Or to the love and compassion that can be shown or felt. There's no stagnation. Honest streams are hard to find. You can tell some people are just there for the money. Yeah, and like, weirdly so. Some people do it as like a job, and I get that. They're talented, but it's a job. Some people would call those honest streams, but I think what we're talking about is just the art of it. Because it is an art. It's not a science, but there's a lot to learn. It's an art. And some people are just there for the attention, the validation, self-discovery. But honest streams, that's what really means something. That's what you learn from. That's what you grow from. Honest content in general is almost gone. It's hard to find on the internet. I don't think I can do it as a job. I don't think it would be... I feel it wouldn't be me genuinely. Do you think you could do it coincidentally, make a living? Or do you feel like it would just be too much? Because I get that too. And like, this is one of the things I talk about. You have everything going for you for being a streamer, but just that. I was talking to Bren, my farm husband. More successful streamer than I am. Been doing it longer. And we were talking about all this, and like, any one thing can entirely stop somebody from doing this for a whole living. Any one thing. And it was one of the things, like, I don't know if you know this about me, but my partner, Ven, or Venti Graham, used to stream all the time. They were the streamer first, but we did a collab, and they just looked at me and said, you should be the streamer. I didn't get why at the time, but they saw the talent. That I was built for this shit. And then I spent the next 6 months confirming that fact, and then I spent the next... 11 months? Figuring out how to do it. And I'm still getting there. But it lines up. I think it would be cool to do it as a job, but I think the pressure to keep making content would get to me. I like streaming because I like meeting people and making connections and friendships. Yeah. If you ever get the chance to separate from that. Hold on for a second. A fly is in my water bottle. I think it'll be very cool. And I think you can learn that. Oh, yes, I got it. A tiny little thing. You can learn that. But I'm not gonna lie, very selfishly, I'm happy for you not to be a professional streamer because you'll be on my streams more. That's kind of the sad thing about having mutuals. You never get to really like be on each other's streams because any free time you have is going to streaming. You do it all the time. But yes, very selfishly. Sure. Sounds great. But yeah, lots of people are like that. I have a friend. Friend? Complicated. No, not complicated. Just a strange friendship. But a guy I've known for a very long time, and he is an amazing artist. But he's like, I could never do this for a living. Are you kidding me? My God. It would just crush him. But I can't imagine doing anything else. I'm going to be honest. This could be my career. There's so much shit that I want to make. And I can't imagine doing it if I didn't have that instinct. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I have a game that's going to be releasing, a TTRPG. I'm very proud of. It's going to be releasing in a few months when the art is done. I'm editing now, and I've been doing that for 8 years. 8 years, and I've loved it all with zero recognition. It's not streaming where I can share it with somebody or have an audience. But I just want to make shit all the time. Another stream, but not into detail. Yeah. Yeah, it's been quite a project. Hearth. Game design, at least, is my magnum opus. But if I didn't have that passion, I don't know how I'd do this. With that passion, I don't know how we can do anything but. It's so all-consuming. It's so deep that I explode without it. I mean, I grew up without expressing myself, and I certainly felt like I was exploding all the time. And now that I have this chance to express myself through something like streaming or game design or anything, but mainly streaming. Streaming is the big one. I just want to keep doing it. I guess to sum that up, if you want help moving past that, I can help. I can help adjust your mindset and build up some intrapersonal infrastructure so that it doesn't happen. But you don't have to at all. There are no have-tos. They don't exist. But if you want to, it's an option. You know what's funny? I started 2 different cults when I was in high school. Neither of them I cared about like I do this one. They weren't really real. I was just kind of fucking around. And then they outlived my involvement. And it freaked me the fuck out. But it's another thing that I think I'm probably built for. I would like that. I need to grow a backbone. Okay, sure. Have you friended me on Discord? We have. Hold on. Let me just do the thing. You message me about it. You'll find me in there. But I think this will probably be the way we go about it. That'll probably be best. Is total acceptance. Understanding what does and doesn't exist. Which, spoiler alert, most things you interact with on a daily basis don't exist. It's just, you know, the stones that form the temple exist, but the temple itself is a label we slap onto it afterwards. It's just a pile of stones. Once you understand all of that, you won't really need a backbone, it just won't feel heavy. Life is such a beautiful thing. It has so many twists and turns. There's so much out there. So many feelings to live. You can't process it all without giving up half of it. It's merciful that way. You can't win. You can't be perfect. You can't survive forever. So you don't have to worry about it. You can fuck up as much as you want. It doesn't matter. It's just life. Just living. Oh, hey! We got Eggy and Mr. Coffee. Hello to both of you. Technically, it is a shared Discord server, but I'm the only one that talks in it, so it's basically ours. Just ring through it all. Yeah, sure. There isn't much on a daily basis. I haven't focused on growing at all. I've specifically avoided collabs and social media and outreach because I wanted to know what I was doing first before I started making connections, because I knew I'd be wasting my own and everyone else's time if I did that. It was hard to be patient, but I took the time to slowly build like that. So it was just a couple of us fucking around in there. I imagine that's going to change as time goes on, as I put up more VODs, whenever I start making videos. Oh, welcome home, Latrap. Fine. We can do Irish, sure. We've had enough of the serious talks. Sprinkle in a little bit of weird humor, fine. And go back to the work accent. And it's my weekend, so thankfully I don't have to do this in the morning. Going back. In some ways, somehow it makes it more serious. Yeah, Irish. Whole body covers chat. It does. And I'm fine with it because the composition is good. But yeah, Eggy, I don't think you've heard me do this, but I, at work, I'm an online blackjack dealer. And so I got bored and decided if I was going to be talking anyways, I might as well practice something. So I started speaking in an Irish accent all day, every day, for the last 2 years. So I've gotten pretty good at it. It's very ingrained. And you know, the funniest thing about it is that my tongue was sore and my mouth was sore because you form words with different muscles, and that was the hardest part, was speaking through all the soreness, especially Irish, because it's all like up at the front of the mouth. It's flawless in my opinion. I mean, it tricks actual Irish people. Like, a guy was like, oh yeah, you're from Cork, aren't you? My wife is from Cork. And people are like, oh yeah, it's good to meet another Irish person. You know, we talk about the counties that they're from. Not actually Irish, but it's great. And I specifically don't tell people it's not real, not because I want to fool them, but because I know that's all they would talk about forever. Mr. Coffee's an exception to blackjack players. They're usually pretty bad. Little potato man. You have to redeem the small to call me a little potato man. It's just flat potato man right now. But yeah, I want to do other accents, but I can't change at work. So that's going to have to wait until I'm doing streaming full time. I have time to devote that much to another one. Peak potato man. You know, a couple months ago, Bart told me to go to you and tell you your accent's fake. I thought that was silly. Almost feel bad now for doing that to you. It was so funny. Bart knew exactly what he was doing. You did your part good. Sounds so good, thank you. Yeah, no, I've leaned into it a lot. One of the biggest parts of it is talking exactly like you would normally would, just with the accent. And sometimes people will be like, I swear I had a little bit of Scottish in there, but it's just because the American dialect is loud and open, and it can kind of lean Scottish that way. But talking about the stars in the universe, the sheer immensity to the fact that we exist, and we have a chance to live in an Irish accent, pretty big. Thing we never lied about. You always say the voice is Irish, but I'm from California. Exactly. I've never actually lied. Well, no. If people press or need something specific, I will lie to them and say that I moved from Ireland to California when I was 8. But I try to keep that minimal. what you're talking about, yes, I haven't lied to them, but I have had to do some specific lying when people press in for details, because I'm not letting it slip. I don't want people harassing me about, oh, you're the fake Irishman, because that's the only thing I'd ever hear, and it gets so boring. But yeah. Yeah. Have you guys thought about that lately? Just the fact that you exist. That there's a whole universe you interact with on a daily basis. When you look up at the night sky, that the light that hits you has been traveling for billions of years. It's been doing a trick shot 100 million years long. That you have a chance to live. Honestly, I don't really know why that one gets me so bad. But I feel lucky. Not that I existed in oblivion before I was born or anything like that. I'm just grateful. I just rather exist than not. And maybe that's just human instinct, but to experience something, I just feel honored, you know? Didn't have to be the case. In fact, I'd say most people have never existed before. Maybe won't ever exist. That's such a flawed, stupid, human way of looking at it, but I can't avoid the romance. That I get my shot, no matter how short it is, no matter what I do with it. I got to be here for a while, and I'm honoured to be surrounded by galaxies and nebula and birds and the earth and just knowing that tectonic plates are moving underneath me as the earth spins around the sun, flying through the universe at incomparable speeds. Let alone all the extra stuff about getting to live in a particular time, getting to live, you know, after we've beaten smallpox and polio, where we're seeing space and can touch it with our own hands. We can go all over the world and talk to each other like this. That just adds to it, you know? Anytime something bad happens, I just can't help thinking about this stuff. And sometimes, like right now, I just can't help thinking about it anyways. Since you get, I can't get over it. Well, there's a redeem. So as soon as he's got 1,000 points, you can do whatever you want. Well, if one day you ever leave, I have to just change it right in the middle of conversation. Exactly. Great to think about. Yeah. Yeah, it's humbling in a beautiful way. More so curious what will happen when the universe no longer expands, it starts contrasting. It might not. That in particular is called the Big Crunch. Right? So the theory is that at some point, whatever force that is pushing the universe apart might stop, slow down, and eventually gravity would pull everything back in. And right now, the one that we have evidence for is that it's never going to stop. It's just going to keep going till all matter is so far apart that it's never going to interact with each other again. Once every black hole has grown dim and faded, lost the last tiny piece of its mass, falls from our sky, being empty. But do you know what is beautiful about that? About the universe being empty? There's a implied existence to black holes, to Einstein's theory of relativity, called a white hole. And it has to do with the geometry of space-time, which is less complicated to understand than you'd think. Maybe we go over it one day. but it's a theoretical thing that everything comes out of. Right, a black hole compresses everything down infinitely small. But a white hole releases everything, sends outward an immense amount of matter and energy. Do you know what the funny thing is about a white hole and this geometry of space-time? I realized it the other day. It's not constrained to time. The white hole itself, that moment, that its inception, its existence, that singularity of a white hole is not constrained to time, just like any other singularity. Do you know what that sounds like to me? A point infinitely small where an untold amount of matter and energy is released from. That sounds like the Big Bang. And if that's true, if the Big Bang is a white hole in one moment of time, an instant, releasing everything, which it could do, be unrestrained to time, be infinitely small as well, and theoretically not interact with matter, then that implies that despite the end of the universe, that all of the matter that gets sucked into those black holes, the last things to exist in our plane, is going somewhere. That even though the atoms will be crunched down into a timeless form, into an unrecognizable matter and energy that we would never understand, somehow our universe keeps going to somebody else so they get to exist. So they get to have a world and a life and eat fucking whatever weird parallel universe version of ice cream that they have. And no matter what they experience, no matter if there's life in that universe, it will exist because of the sacrifice of this one. And that's what I love about the heat death of the universe. That's what I love about that theory. Is that despite our universe going black and cold after untold time, somebody else gets a turn. That's what I love. That's what I love. It doesn't stop. We pass it forward on to somebody else. The final, greatest, complete act of generosity. Going to things we can never understand. In a time well beyond humans. Incomparable zeros added on to those years. That's what I love about the heat death. Entropy. But if you want to know more about white holes, you know what? Let's do this. Let's talk about this. I think this is important, actually. I'm going to pull up MS Paint. Because I want to show you that it's not that scary. Dude. Weird. It's not capturing paint. I think I just have to use the window capture. Ah, there we go. Art stream, kind of. Kind of. So let's make this a little bit of a better color. There we go. Let's make a U. Right? So, here's this point, because imagine I'm not going to be using purple. Let me just actually use these for simplicity's sake. This is you. This is your player token. You can only ever experience what light can reach. Right? So, if you take a single moment of time, the only thing that could have ever affected you, or that you could have ever affected, is within light speed distance, right? However far light could have traveled in that moment. So, you give it like a cone. As the nanoseconds continue on, right? This is as far from you as light could have traveled in that moment. And this way, going up, this way, this is time. So as time moves forward, right, every tiny little plonk length of time, light is expanding out from you, or coming in to reach you. This is as far away as it can be. Right. You might wonder why this angle. And I'll tell you that. It's a 45-degree angle. That's not what these are. But theoretically, right? Because you ever wonder how fast you're moving through time? Probably not. It doesn't sound like something you can solve. But you're actually going through time at light speed. Let me zoom in a little bit. Just over here. I'll make a little graph for you. If this way is through time, right? Time. And this way is through space. If you're not moving, if you're out in the void and you're not moving at all, this is not the right music. There we go. Got it to the end of the playlist and kept going to something else. Anyways, so if you're not moving through space at all, right? Then you're going through time at light speed. Right? We'll listen to that another day. If you're going through space at light speed, you're not moving through time at all. This is what relativity is. Right? This is what relativity means. This is why if you go very fast, time goes slow relative to you. Right? That everyone else is going through time faster. This is why how Interstellar works and all of that. So the faster you go through space, right, the more you turn this arrow. Let me actually just do this and I can rotate it. But the faster you go, the less time passes. And so light, at light speed, does not experience time. Fun fact. From a photon's perspective, it experiences its entire lifespan all at once. Blob time. But that's why it's a 45-degree angle. It's because of this graph. Because it's you and light. It's everything light could have reached in that time. So, with that in mind, if we make this a graph, right? And well, let's use a different color. We use the beginning of the universe, is what this little point is. And we take light, and we expand outward at a 45-degree angle, roughly that. This is everything that could have possibly happened in time. Space expands infinitely out to the corners, right? Think of the edges of this diamond as the infinite space. Right? This is as far as light can travel. So, because of the bending of space-time, over here, we already used purple. Let's use a strong red. This is the singularity, right? Let me write it in. This is the influence. This is the gravitational influence of black hole. This is the event horizon, right? So sides event horizon. That's a Z. I need to say Z. Oh. Well, horizon is spelled wrong, and we're just gonna live with that. And this up here, this line specifically, is the singularity. It doesn't increase the size of the font, of course it doesn't. Right? So if we take you again, and you're here, right? You can explore the entire universe if you were infinite, right? If you were immortal, and you could go on forever, you could explore the entire universe. Let me write this in, right? Whole thing. Yours for the taking. But as soon as you are in this space, the event horizon, if you'll notice, from a 45-degree angle from where you are, there is no way to not end up in the singularity. There is nowhere you can possibly go your entire life. Whatever your existence is that you have left, all light ends up inside the singularity. That's why you can't escape the event horizon. Nothing can escape it because of the bending of space-time. And this is a geometric way of describing it. And so, if this is a space where light can enter but cannot leave, right? That's what this space is. Then what's over here? Right, what's over here? If you were over here, you could enter the universe. But if you put anything inside of the universe here, right? Oh, that was rough. Let me just, oh, not that. Come on. No, not that. Build tool, there we go. Hydrate, good idea. I'm not hungry though, surprisingly. Remember, if you're in the universe, right? If we draw your little squiggly in for you, I put you in there, right? There's nowhere you can go that's not in the universe or the singularity. But if you're out here, right? If this is you, the only place you can go is into the universe. Nobody in the universe can actually go into here. And this is what we call the theoretical white hole. Also, shout out for Veritasium for showing me this. It's a Penrose diagram. I can link the video in the Discord server if we want. But this space is called a white hole. And that because of the geometry of the universe, because of the way that light speed works, nothing in the white hole, everything in the white hole can go into the universe, but nothing from the universe can go into the white hole. The exact opposite of a black hole. Oh, a great explanation, I get it. Isn't it interesting? And this implies one more thing. What's over here? With this geometry, other things should be able to go into the black hole and other things should be able to go out of the white hole. So what is this? Well, this is where parallel universes come into play. This is where the theory of parallel universes comes from. That's not how you spell parallel. Alright, it's 2 L's, not 2 R's. That's why relativity implies a parallel universe. And so you might be wondering, okay, so if this is a parallel universe, right? Then what's happening? No, you stay yellow. Right here. What is this spot? Right where everything meets. What is that? That is where a wormhole would be. See, if you cross over right in the border of the event horizon, theoretically, based on the geometry of the universe, which we have confirmed this of, we can actually see it happening now, you would end up, if we take this little U color, and you crossed over right at the border, you'd be in a parallel universe. But there's a problem. Remember what this is based off of, right? Light speed, something you can't get past. That is a hard limit on the universe. So the problem becomes that if you're here, right? Let me clear this up. I only ever want one of you out on here at a time. If you're right here, the only place you can go is at a 45 degree. If you're going light speed, you can only ever go a 45 degree. So, if you were right on the edge of existence somehow, or you started right at the Big Bang, if you were right here, the best you could do is follow this line into the black hole, or right on the edge. Imagine if this was all cleaned up, right? So, how do you get past it? What you'd have to do... Keep bringing that back. You would have to go faster than the speed of light. Beyond the 45-degree angle. Beyond the speed at which light expands. And you can cross over from one universe into the other. And that is where wormholes come from. That's what a wormhole is. A fold in the geometry of the universe. This is called a Penrose diagram. And now you understand relativity. Or really the extreme implications of relativity. If the class has any questions, let me know. I know this can be a lot. I hope I explained well enough. But I think all of you can understand this. I know all of you can understand this. Don't doubt yourselves. Glorious, I'm glad you liked it. And this is why I think about that white hole, right? Because it also has a singularity. The white hole singularity is right here. A point at which all time and space is compressed. Or really expanded. And I think in that timeless place, this is the Big Bang, right here. This point, right? If we make a new point. Right here, this point, where the white hole and the base of the universe begin, at the beginning of time, that the expansion of all the shit happened all at once. And thus our universe is filled with stuff. I know of the light space cone, but never put all of these together. Isn't it fascinating? So the parallel universes don't necessarily have any similarities to each other. Nope. People think that, and science fiction has propagated that idea that a parallel universe is like ours but different, but there is no implication in physics that has anything to do with ours. There is an implication that gravity works the same way, that has the same physics, right? There is, if you continue this on, an implication of a zone where gravity pushes things away, which is theoretically where white holes come from, right? Pushing everything out, nothing goes in. But that the parallel universe is still running under our same physics. That's the only implication. The matter, the energy, all of that could be different. And if you've ever heard of a tachyon particle, it is a particle, a theoretical particle that moves faster than light speed. But if a particle moves faster than light speed, it will always move faster than light speed, and we have no evidence of them. But you're absolutely correct. There is no implication that there would be any similarities. It could have similarities to our universe, but there's no reason it would. Gravity would still pull things together, but that's, about it. Math theoretically would work the same way. Fascinating, isn't it? Isn't it? Another fun fact, because black holes rotate, you would actually survive going into one. You'd end up in a space just before the singularity where you could look at the singularity, but you wouldn't be destroyed. The idea of black holes crushing everything to dust, which I did talk about, which I feel is a little, I don't know, dishonest. I probably shouldn't do that. But it is a new understanding. Is based on a model of a black hole that is not rotating. But because black holes come from dying stars and stars rotate, the angular momentum must be preserved. Thus, black holes all rotate. And the physics inside of them becomes survivable. It was figured out in the 70s, I believe. After all of this was figured out in World War I and II. Early 20th century. Holy shit. Yeah. Holy shit indeed. You can see the end of space-time if you went into a black hole. Essentially, space-time, because it's being bent and rotated in the singularity, becomes one big blob soup. And so you stop being crushed. You can just move freely inside what's called the final shell of a black hole. And just look at the singularity. Which theoretically means that you'd be spat out the other side and become an offering to a white hole, but gravity pushes away, so you just get theoretically torn apart. Well, there's the universe. There it is. At 2 in the morning in a closet in a hallway in the liminal space of the internet. This diagram is pretty well known though. But it always surprises me how simple the geometry becomes. Simple logical steps. It's like we touch the face of God when we figure out shit like this. We get to play on the strings, create the universe. Well, if there's any place to end the stream, it'll be here. Before we get off, of course, it is time for a damn good tarot reading. I'll be using the crows. I think that's the most appropriate deck for this. If you've not heard my spiel on tarot readings before, it is a tool to look inside of your head. Not a magic fortune-telling device, but a way that you can reflect on parts of your mind that are too close to your nose to see. Right? Think of it this way. Your mind is a city grid. And you pass down the normal ways of thought that are like highways. The things you think about all the time. And every once in a while there's a goblin that flashes his junk at you. And you're like, fuck, I can't find this goblin. And you keep going up and down the main streets and you never figure it out. And it keeps flashing his junk at you in different spots. And maybe you find a specific area, but you can never see the goblin itself. Tarot, very simply, just asks you, hey, is that alleyway painted orange? And you're like, is it painted orange? I don't remember that. And you look down the alleyway, and there's the goblin, and you go beat the shit out of it. That's tarot. It kind of points you to look at things that you'd never look at otherwise. So, what can I do to align myself with my life's purpose, right? Remember, guys, anybody can take this redeem. Uh-huh. I know what's up here. I could just wait for you to say it. What can I do to align more closely with my life purpose? Yes. Never heard it put it that way, but I get it. Yeah, isn't it good? That's always how I explain tarot. So we're gonna do way. What was it originally called? I'm just gonna call it Way Forward. So we'll pull 3 cards. One is the current path that you're on. The next will signify what is blocking you from that path. So, you know, life's purpose. And the final one will describe what to do about it. How to get past that blockage. If you're here right now, I'd encourage you to shuffle a card so that you are more open to the answer. That's really all it does. It kind of gets you in the right mindset, the right feeling for it. Let me see if I can shuffle this properly without bending cards. Okay. So, though I do understand people describing it like magic, it feels like magic. Path. The block. The way forward. Stack these on top of each other, reverse them with. So, the path. Oh, this is too perfect. The 9 of Pentacles. Which, I wish I could show this to you guys specifically, but I'm not going to risk turning on my webcam. Pentacles are about physical things, like, you know, money and comfort and Xboxes, right? And the 9 of Pentacles is bounty. The moment just before full harvest. I can't describe a purpose in life better than that. Not the conclusion, but the rich path of it. And you'll love the art as well. And the block. Ah. The 3 of Swords. Swords are logical. The 3 of Swords, specifically, is betrayal. In many different ways. Be of self. It can be a pain, simply a pain you're not willing to let go of. Let me see what the book specifically has to say about it. This specific 3 of Swords. Because it does change from tarot deck to tarot deck. Mostly for the other people. Mr. Coffee, I'm sure you know. Goes in reverse order. I just thought that was funny. Crow watches his partner fly away. The 3 of Swords, puncturing the heart, represent the pair of crows and the issue that resulted in the separation. The 3 of Swords represents a time of sadness and loss. Oh, I was mixing it up. Without sorrow, we would never understand true happiness. So, just loss for this deck. Not necessarily betrayal. But just that anchor of loss. And the way forward? Ooh. Wow, what a spread. kind of got called out, as they say. This is why I mean that the Crow Tarot hits harder. Quite have enough room on my desk. There we go. I'll send it into general. But the way forward is the Five of Pentacles. A difficult choice. A time of moving on. Remember the passage for this one being particularly good. Tells the story of two different groups of crows. The first group is comfortable and warm, roosting in the tree. The second group battles a headwind as they hop along the frozen ground, unable to see that relief is just a short distance away. The crows on the ground may have lost everything, but they take comfort in the fact that they still have each other. This card serves as a reminder that even when all appears lost, there are still opportunities if we look for them. So, to me, this seems pretty clear. That you are being held and anchored by deep sadness. That you have lost, and it fucking blows. But to get closer to that purpose, whatever it is, you have to recognize the good that is around you, to invest in that. And in that, you will be able to let go of that anchor. It'll slowly release its grip from you, in investing in the good that is immediate around you. And putting your significance in that, rather than what it is that you have lost. Normally, for everyone at home, tarot is a thing done in person, so there can be an active dialogue, but I find this is often helpful enough for people. If you have any questions or comments or specifications, let me know. But I hope this helped. I can make that make sense. Good. That's all you need. As a great example of what I mean by it's not magic, but it feels magic, because your brain finds the answer that you've been looking for that you wouldn't have been able to find otherwise. Something to ponder. Yeah. So, it is 2 in the morning. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I love all of you. And I'm glad that we're all here. Yeah, for sure. And I'll stand on that 17. Good. For now, it's good night. I hope you all sleep well. I hope to see you guys again soon. But even if not, you have to be gone for a while, or you just can't be on. This will always be here for you. Talk to you again soon. Good night, everyone. Sleep well.